truck pros. Welcome back to Fleet 101 from Truck Chat, the series where we break down the essentials and dig deep into what makes your work truck fleet stronger, smarter, and safer. I'm Fletcher, and today we're diving into a piece of equipment that's all about protection and power, grill guards. If you've ever wondered what sets a grill guard apart from a brush guard or a bull bar, or how these tough front-end protectors can do more than just look good, you're in the right place. Joining me is Adam Roorda from XGuard, the experts in grill guard technology. We're going to cover everything you need to know, from installation of materials to how these guards hold up with modern vehicle tech. So let's get started. To kick things off, we're going to start by getting clear on the basics, because let's be honest, there's a lot of terms floating around when it comes to front-end vehicle protection. So Adam, can you help explain what a grill guard is, its primary purpose, and how it differs from brush guards, bumper guards, bull bars, and all those other terms we know?
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. I'll try to remember that list. There's a lot of different names, and if you search for our product online, I think what you'll find is a lot of different descriptions. We have cattle catchers, we have bull bars, we have grill guards, we have bumper replacements, and so I'll kind of go through them one at a time, and I might look off just a little bit here to talk through them because I'll forget. So for our product, a grill guard, primarily what we're worried about is protecting the front end of a vehicle from the kind of on-road damage that you might get on every single day. If you're doing a lot of miles, whether you're stopped in a parking lot, you're on a job site, or you're on the road and you run into a vehicle or an animal, and that we're really focused on those high impact events that can do a tremendous amount of damage to a vehicle, as well as the slow speed stuff. Now, there are also other products like brush guards. And so a brush guard is pretty clearly identified when it has something to keep brush, literally brush or grass or reeds, out of the radiator of a vehicle. Those tend to be quite a bit lighter, and they're mostly meant for keeping just stuff from getting in your engine compartment. And so the gauge of those, the metal will be a lot smaller. It'll be a lot lighter product in general. Bumper replacements are the exact opposite. So bumper replacement, oftentimes you'll see those on like ambulances. They're big aluminum, 500, 600, 700 pound guards that protect the vehicle from a really traumatic impact. They are definitely meant in those cases to try to sustain the life or livelihood of whatever's being carried. That's not necessarily who we are, because the cost and the weight of those is usually outbalanced by the protection that we can provide at a more reasonable weight and cost point. A couple of other things, push bars. You might hear of push bars before. Those tend to be smaller. You'll see them on police cars most often. They're a lot, they go in, and of course, they're just covering the grill for the most part. They don't have a lot of lateral protection. They're very narrow. They tend to be a lighter gauge of steel, and they're not meant for a heavy collision. And then a bull bar is the other product that a lot of times people will call our product, but in reality, a bull bar is just a simple little bar that goes up and protects primarily like your license plate area from a single collision in the middle. Oftentimes it can have a skid plate attached to it. And so that's just a few of the things that kind of get confused with grill guards or what we do.
So, protection is key. There's varying types of ways of protecting the vehicle. What additional benefits do grill guards provide that fleet managers might not realize specifically?
First and foremost, it's not just about protection, but we go in when we work with our customers and talk about what they can do to mitigate the expenses that they have from front-end collisions. It's about finding that root cause analysis of why and what is causing all their damage to really drive a financial benefit. So that's the first thing that we do. And whenever we work with a new customer, then it is, of course, obviously protecting them against those things that cause the damage, that take them out of service. The thing that fleets don't often take into account is not just what they're paying for with their parts, but it's also for those goods and services, the opportunity costs, the downtime that they're not counting. So we work with them as well. And then I think the third kind of leg of that stool is that we work a lot to make sure that drivers and their folks that use their vehicles feel confident behind the wheel that they're going to get home safely at night, that if they're traveling on a dark road in the evening, that they have that confidence that their vehicle is well protected from any sort of front-end incursion. So that's kind of the three-legged stool that we work on.
It reminds me, years ago, Automotive Fleet, we had a series in our sister publication. It was called Strange But True, and it was stories from fleet managers from the road that you just kind of had to be there to believe. And one of the ones that always stuck out to me had to do with grill guards. And it was a fleet manager who wrote, they were having all of these incidents, the vehicles were hitting all kinds of stuff. And so they installed these new grill guards. and they got a phone call that a truck had run off the road into a ditch and hit a tree. And the guy goes out, he's trying to figure out what's going on. And the driver said, "Well, I didn't want to damage the grill guard. I was trying to drive around the thing in the road because the grill guard was so pretty." And so it always made me laugh that, I mean, because they're pretty, they look nice, but they are meant to be utilized and to protect you in those situations.
Yeah, that's it's very interesting. So what we find is the happiest customers that we have is that you'll go into their lots where they have all their vehicles and you'll see their guards and they're beat and they're dinged and they're scratched and they're scuffed because they know that if that guard wasn't there, that would be the front end of their vehicles and that would be the grills, that would be the headlights, that would be the bumpers, the fog lights, etc. And so our happiest customers are usually the ones that oftentimes have the roughest looking grill guard, and that's what they're for.
I love it. So that actually goes really well into the next one, which is design. So, trucks aren't one size fits all. You are known as a manufacturer more for the heavy duty side of things. You're not new into this space by any means. So, how do you approach design for different vehicle models, especially with all of the evolving designs, electric trucks, everything that keeps changing? How are you addressing that?
Yep, that's a really great question. So we work with the OEMs pretty exclusively. So we also have a pretty deep Rolodex when it comes to, hey, I need to get a test vehicle. We call the OEM, we call a local dealer, you call a friend that has a vehicle. And so what we do is we spend a lot of time looking at all the different configurations, whether it's just a plain stock truck, it's something that has a collision mitigation system, it's something that has adaptive radar systems, it has parking sensors and all those kind of things. So there's a lot of engineering that goes into that. We do get customers that are frustrated, like, why is my truck not available? And it's simply because we have to take the time, do the engineering right, make sure that we work with the sensors, with the adaptive cruise, with the blue cruise, and all those new technologies. And so we have a pretty deep Rolodex when it comes to working with our partners in engineering, both at the OEM level and the upfitter and the pass-through.
So you said a magic word. You said technology. With more sensors and ADAS, packed into every corner and part of a truck. New trucks are equipped with a lot more technology. How are your guards working around those and ensuring that they're not interfering with those sensors?
Yeah, I think it goes back to exactly what I said. We have to test run lots and lots of different vehicles, and it's not uncommon that we think we're getting to the end of the stage, and then we put a guard on. And it's like, oh, well, this technology also needs to work with this, and so we have to make refinements and adjustments. It's part of the job, and so we get OEM schematics, we get those CAD files, we understand how the product is designed, and then we keep a really close ear to the ground anytime there's a modification. We watch manufacturers notes, and so we try to stay on top of the whatever's emerging from the OEs and work with our customers that have those big fleets to make sure that they are also providing feedback. As guards become more popular, then they will also in turn tell the manufacturers, if they're buying a lot of trucks, I would like for a truck to do X, Y, and Z so that it works with my grill guards, which is a really great benefit in the long run for everybody.
So, for fleets that have finally decided they want to give it a try, they are looking for that additional protection for their vehicles. What does that install process really look like? Do you need to remove the hood or the bumper? I mean, is it a simple thing or is that a complicated process to go through?
Yeah, so almost exclusively our guards work in the tow hooks. So it's really about loosening or removing the tow hooks for the most part. There are some scenarios where if you remove the tow hooks, you also have to loosen the bumper. There's not very many scenarios where you have to completely remove the bumper. There are a few fitments, particularly on the GM side, where you have to make a few cuts in the plastic portions around the tow hooks to facilitate a much beefier, stronger bracket that our guard is mounted to. But other than that, it usually takes about 45 minutes to an hour. Once you've got it down good, your first one might take about an hour and 90 minutes. But if you're an upfitter or if you're a fleet maintenance person, it's something you can get down to a half hour or an hour pretty easily once you figure out how to do it.
All the basic common tools that they would have in a maintenance shop all would
Yeah.
be useful for what they need.
Yep, yeah, basic wrenches, impact wrench. One of the things that we always make sure we understand is that they have to be torqued to our specifications. If there's anything that ever goes wrong with the guards, oftentimes we trace it back to somebody just looked at it and thought, well, that's good enough, and they didn't actually torque it to our specifications. This is a guard that is designed to take significant impact, and if it's not torqued to specifications, it can cause problems down the road. So we try to make that very clear.
No, it makes sense. And so, when it comes to holding up against tough jobs, tough roads, what materials are these grill guards made of, and how is that impacting the durability?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think that's one of the things that significantly sets us apart from the other, what you'd say, brush guards or grill guards in the industry, the other bumper replacements. And so we have, it's high tensile steel. It's 11 gauge, and then we coat it in 3 millimeters of what we call Evercoat PVC coating. Nobody else does this particular product. What you'll see in other products that are made maybe in China or overseas or are imported is that they'll put a thin, cheap powder coat on them. While that looks good, maybe if you're in a northern state or if you run into any impacts within 6 months to 18 months, you'll see a lot of rust start to develop. That powder coat will flake off. You'll often see with an X-Guard product, it'll be 5, 10, 15 years. And if they haven't had any significant impacts, that PVC coating is still thick, durable, and bonded. And so it's a totally different material. The look is considerably different. Like if you look over my shoulder, it's a much thicker, beefier pipe than what you're going to see a lot of the cheap ones, the pipe's not much bigger than my finger or my thumb. And so we're really, truly concerned about impact protection. And if there is a criticism of X-Guard, it's that people want to get chrome and those kind of things. That's not who we are. We're about impact protection. We're about preserving that asset. This is not for show trucks or parking lot princesses. If you want to get work done and be protected, yeah, X-Guard.
I love it because, that does spark a debate, chrome or black, but it seems to be more on the aesthetics of it than anything else.
Yeah, we truly understand that. We get consumers make a lot of decisions with their eyes, whether if they're buying for their personal truck or they're buying for their work trucks. Chrome might look good, but especially when you're talking about impact protection and you're talking about the potential for it to be exposed to salt, weather, rain, other things like that, chrome just tends to not stand up over the long term. The other thing with chrome is that if you want it to be affordable, oftentimes it has to be outsourced or it has to be brought in from overseas. We're 100% made in the USA. We're never going to do that. And so to be affordable, chrome's really just not an option for most fleets. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
And, I think as we keep talking, safety really matters for every mile, not just during major impacts. So, how do the grill guards enhance safety during just daily fleet operations?
Yeah, I think that's probably the number one thing that our fleet customers maybe need to understand better about their own operations is that oftentimes there might be an impact at low speed that doesn't take the truck out of service, but you'll come back 2 weeks later and find a cracked bumper or a broken fog light or you ripped a license plate off or whatever it is. And so that's the day-to-day kind of wear and tear that really not only slows you down over the long term because you want to have that vehicle looking good, or you need to repair it at some point. Additionally, if it takes it out of service, and it dramatically impacts your resale value at the end of when you're ready to turn that over after a couple of years, customers that are buying those used vehicles would prefer not to have trucks that are really smashed up. And if they see a guard, if you turn over that truck with a guard on the front of it, there's a lot more confidence the customer has on that secondary market to say that truck was well taken care of, it's protected, and I know it has a good asset on the front to help protect me as well.
So, there's weight, involved in putting anything on a vehicle, and fleets are always concerned when you add more weight. Payload is
Yep.
very important to what they
Yep.
do. You know, what is the impact on fuel economy and handling when you add these grill guards onto a vehicle?
Yeah, so I think fuel economy is one of those things that there is obviously a lot of concern. We tend to get fuel economy concerns much more on the semi-truck side. And I'll just give you a little bit of data from our understanding of the semi-truck side. We work with a company called Mesilla Valley um, Transportation Solutions. They do fuel economy testing on all of the grill guards that are designed like ours. And so what they found is that when a guard is of the size and weight that our pickup truck guards are, it tends to have zero impact or a very, very minute impact. The tubular design that we have has it's a very small drag coefficient. And so
Okay.
in general, when that guard weighs about 100 to 100, maybe 150 if you have one of our biggest pickup truck guards, it's like carrying a passenger or having the air conditioner on 1 or 2 notches. It's not as significant as most folks think. Honestly, we even have conversations about like, do you weigh your drivers every day to know what they weigh? Because like we're not talking about adding something like a full bumper replacement that you see that might weigh 4 or 5 or 600 pounds. It's not that kind of product. And so again, it's about that balancing that ratio of protection between weight. And so we think we fit in a really sweet spot. And so most folks can afford to trade off 100, 125 pounds for the level of protection that we provide any given day.
It's probably the weight of the unnecessary tools they've got sitting in the back that probably should have been cleaned out a couple of months ago anyways, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, there might be a few of those. I'm not here to judge, but we try to draw parallels with folks to understand that in reality, weight is not as big of an issue with our vehicles. Now, you did ask a question about handling. I think those are all relevant questions, but because it's not a significant weight problem like a full bumper replacement might be, we tend not to have problems with handling. It seems to be fine for most vehicles. We are going to, look at those lighter vehicles like the Ford Maverick, and as we go down into those vehicles, then you do have to change the pipe that's used. You have to change the structure and those kind of things. But it's all the things that our engineers are looking at and making sure that we provide safety and all the way around.
And from, I mean, the image behind you, it looks like they're, relatively low profile. You're not losing visibility off the front end of your vehicle. It's kind of fit into that front view that you're used to seeing anyways.
Yeah, 100% right. And that's why our guards tend to work really well with adaptive cruise controls, because a lot of those, if I do this right, if I can do it, the adaptive cruise control tends to be up there and in other places. And so as we work around those, you have to be, I have those cameras and sensors be able to see around the guard. And so we do get a lot of questions about the open spaces. It's just that's one of the necessary evils is if you have those adaptive cruise and cameras and those kind of things, you have to work around those just a little bit. But in general, it's a product that you're not going to notice it unless it's in front of if you have a parking camera or something like that. Sometimes you might see just the edge of it, but it doesn't interfere with your visibility.
And that goes back to the testing of the different vehicles and models to make sure everything's all working together. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
correct.
Okay, so, once a fleet's decided they've got them installed, didn't take them too long, they're happy with it. How do they keep them looking good, doing their job, and properly maintained to do what they're supposed to do? Is there any additional maintenance that they need to be paying attention to?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things when I had understood that this might be a question, I was like, there's not a lot of maintenance you have to do. And for the most part, what we hear from folks that have had some sort of incursion, and then honestly, like the ones that are probably the worst are where there's an animal strike. In a lot of cases, that's just wash and go because it's the PVC coating. It's not something you have to spend a lot of time maintaining. And I think that's another reason why, again, our fleet customers like those products because they can just wash and go. It's not something they have to worry about and it doesn't rust, those kind of things. So there's not that much maintenance to it, to be honest.
For fleets that might be, operating on rougher roads or rougher terrain, is it recommended that they maybe check fitments or make sure everything's kind of locked in and torqued up every once in a while to just keep things solid?
Yeah, that's totally fair. We do obviously have instructions if something would come loose. It's not that common and it's really easy to get to if it does happen. Obviously, when we talk about our semi truck business, those trucks do 100,000, 120,000 miles a year, which is significant, especially on some of the roads they might be on. It does happen where things might come loose and it's very easy to torque things right back up to spec, no problem.
Awesome. I mean, that's what they want to hear is that if something is
Yep.
there, it's easy to kind of maintain, keep not an additional 5 steps that they have to do every time they're bringing a truck in that
Yeah.
they've got to check out.
Yep.
Okay, let's kind of shift gears and peek into what's next. Are there any upcoming developments that, fleet managers should be kind of keeping an eye out on or get a little excited about?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. At least from an XGuard standpoint, we continue to roll out new products. We get dozens of messages every day about, can you make it for this model and this model and this model? So we are moving into the F-150 space, the Chevy 1500s, GMC 1500s, and then Ram will be shortly thereafter. We also are working, there's a lot of ambulance companies that we work with. So on the other side of my shoulder, I'm trying to see where it is on the other side of my shoulder over here. We also have them for Sprinter vans. And so I think what we find is that there are a lot of folks that if there is a need for a vehicle that is damaged, we're glad to make that product, and as long as that we can understand the size of the opportunity. So I think that from our standpoint, we're moving that direction. It's a little bit down market from a size standpoint and from just the overall weight of the vehicle, the class that we're going into. As far as the rest of the market, obviously everyone's attuned to what's happening with the price of steel. I think that from our standpoint, 100% made in America. We have a ton of folks that work in Canada. We have a ton of folks that work in the States. We ship some stuff to Mexico. And so in general, we feel really confident about where our position is regarding steel and other input costs. So we don't foresee big impacts to our pricing. You know, knock on wood, assuming nothing happens in the market in the next few months. We're just a really steady, stable product. And I think that as new technologies come out, give us a couple months. If you have questions about our product, we'll take a look at it and we can work around those things. Yeah, so that's who we are.
All right. Well, fleet managers, you heard it from Adam. If there's a product that you're missing, don't hesitate to reach out to XGuard and let them know that you really need that. They need to
Yeah,
hear from you.
yeah,
Um,
and helping folks protect lots of different things. It's not uncommon that we get asked by RV companies to make things and other pickup truck companies to make things, other upfitters to make things. So it's our processes are really unique for what we do, and we can help a lot of folks.
I love it. So, kind of closing things out for any fleet managers that might still be on the fence, not really sure if this is something that they should be getting for their fleet or not. What advice would you give them for considering adding grill guards to their vehicles?
Yeah, I'll just give you a small snippet. So we work with a lot of major companies. And so one of the companies we work with, I can't name them, but like it's a company that even my kids know because they buy stuff from them all the time. They have lots and lots of vehicles, and almost 40% of their vehicles on any given year are damaged in a front end,
Wow.
some sort of front end accident. And so what we did is we sat down and said, do you clearly understand what is the root cause of that damage? And I think the one thing that I would say to fleet managers is don't just budget for damage, understand where it's coming from, get to the root cause analysis of what's causing that over and over, and try to let's try to work this out together, try to figure out how we can prevent those things. It's not uncommon, and you're not the only company that just says, I don't know. Like, I don't know how my trucks get damaged. I don't know what's causing it. Is it yellow deer in parking lots? Is it people backing into us? Is it a skid steer at the job site? That happens. But if you take a few hours and you work with us and we can give some advice on how to look at it, I think you'll see a significant improvement. We've seen fleets that have had an 80% reduction in the number of trucks they'd have to take off the road. We've seen a 97% decrease in what they've been spending on front end replacement parts and downtime and those kind of things. So it's not uncommon to get a payback on our product within 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. And so then you're just making money and you're ahead of the game. You look like a rock star. Your boss wants to give you more responsibility and money and just makes you wealthy. So, I mean, that's it. You heard it here, XGuard, and you're going to be a rock star at work.
I love it. Well, you know what? That's a wrap on this episode of Truck Chat. Huge thank you to Adam and the team at XGuard for shedding light on how grill guards can elevate fleet protection and performance. So if you're ready to gear up your fleet, check out the links below for more details. And remember, Truck Chat is your go-to for real-world insights straight from the experts. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our next deep dive. I'm Lauren Fletcher. Stay safe, stay smart, and I'll catch you next time.